Mementos of Utah Mound Builders, Illinois, 1877. The mounds are 6 in number, cover 20 acres, excavating a large skeleton 6'6", in its hand a huge steel weapon, large drilled stone pipe, 1400 years ago, the Nephites and the Lamanites, a cement full of different seeds, cement case, sorry. So they're digging into a mound, okay? Mementos of the Utah Mound Builders. We are kindly, and I apologize, some of these don't always have the best textual appearance here, but you can follow my thread, and any of this stuff you want to go back to, you can just look at it yourself. We are kindly permitted by a gentleman of this place to make public the following interesting letter of a friend at Payson, Utah territory. The mounds are situated in what is known as the Payson Farm and are 6 in number, covering about 20 acres. 6 mounds covering 20 acres. Okay, these are some big, big mounds. Last year, while excavating of the larger mound, we discovered the feet of a large skeleton, and carefully removing the hardened earth in which it was embedded, we succeeded in unearthing an entire skeleton without injury. The human framework measured 6 feet 6 inches, and from its appearance, it was undoubtedly a male in gender. In the right hand was a huge iron or steel weapon, which had been buried with the body, but which crumbled to pieces on handling. Near the skeleton, we also found pieces of cedar wood. Okay, cedar wood. Cedar existed all over this region, and they built with cedar, the land of cedar. Okay, this is just, remember that when we're thinking about Galilee and the Dead Sea and the Jordan River and making pilgrimage to the Holy Land, cedars are an important note there as well. Just like in Arizona. Cedars that don't exist in Arizona, but did. Every building had cedar joists. Near the skeleton, we also found pieces of cedar wood cut in various fantastic shapes and in a perfect state of preservation. The engraving showing that the people of this unknown race were acquainted with the use of edged tools. We also found a large stone pipe, the stem of which was inserted between the teeth of the skeleton. The bowl of the pipe weighed 5 ounces, made of sandstone, and the aperture for the tobacco had the appearance of being drilled. The inhabitants here say a race of people existed here 1,400 years ago. Okay, so they're talking the Indians. This is their story. That there were a race of people that existed here 1,400 years ago and belonged to a tribe known as the Nephites. This is what the Indians are telling them. That the people existed here 1,400 years ago, belonged to a tribe known as the Nephites, who are often referred to in the Book of Mormon, which also speaks of a terrible encounter these people had with their ancient enemy, the Lamanites. We found another skeleton near the above mentioned, which was not quite as large and must be that of a woman. There was a neatly carved tombstone at the head of the skeleton. Close by, the floor was covered with a hard cement, to all appearances a part of solid rock. But after patient labor and exhaustive work, we succeeded in penetrating and found it was the corner of a box, similarly constructed, a cement box, in which we found about 3 pints of wheat kernels, most of which dissolved when brought in contact with the light in the air. Few of the kernels found in the center of the heap looked bright and retained their freshness on being exposed. They were carefully preserved and last spring planted and grew freely through the field. Insects seemed determined to devour it. We raised 4.5 pounds of heads from these few grains. The wheat is unlike anything other raised in this country and produces a large yield. It is of the club variety. The heads are very young and hold very large grains. We have found many curiosities in the mounds belonging to this ancient race, once the inhabitants of this section. Now again, go back through my older videos. I talk about mummy corn and mummy wheat. They found mummy wheat and mummy corn buried with these mummies. They've planted it and were absolutely blown away. The mummy corn, I talked about this on my show with Longo just the other day. The mummy corn they planted, okay? Listen to this, you guys. The mummy corn grew to 20 feet, and the lowest corn stalk was 13 feet off the ground. Okay? Absolutely unbelievable. Um, in the 1830s, 40s, and 50s, they were saying that the Ophir of Solomon must have been America because the wheat alone is unlike any wheat in the world. All the wheat of the world comes from here. The oldest wheat comes from America. The oldest corn comes from the Americas, and it's unlike anything left today. It can grow in the desert. It can grow with barely any water. The stalks are monumental and huge. They yield 4-5 times as much wheat and corn as what we grow today. The color is completely different. It's a completely different type. Okay, very ancient. I don't know why I closed that. Once inhabiting this section, we had houses in all the mounds, houses in all the mounds, houses, and the rooms of which are as perfect as the day they were built. All the apartments are nicely plastered, sonnet in white, others in red, painted. I can't read that word. I apologize. Crockeryware, cooking utensils, vases, many of the patterns similar to the present age, painting a similar type of the present age. Upon one large stone jug or vase can be traced a perfect. Oh man, I apologize again. Basically, they painted a perfect picture of the mountains near here for a distance of 20 miles. We have found several millstones used in grinding corn and wheat, and plenty of charred corn cobs with kernels not unlike, though known as yellow corn. We judge from our observations that these ancient dwellers of our country followed agriculture for a livelihood and had many of the arts and sciences known to us. Yeah, the man was buried with a metal axe, metallurgy. Okay, what do we talk about? The same thing was found all over Arizona. Agriculture was the whole of Arizona was covered in canals, and they were growing food for millions and millions of people, millions of people. The same thing is extending up into Utah, and the sciences were known to them. We found molds made of clay for casting. Exactly. These people, metallurgy, these people were mining, they were smelting, they were blacksmithing. Okay. This is not Stone Age people. For casting different implements, needles made of deer horns and laths made of stone, and which were in good shape. We also in many trinkets, such as white stone beads and marbles. The good is made now, as good is made now. Also small squares of polished stones resembling dominoes. Dominoes. Crazy.